Welcome back to another episode of Worth a Listen. I'm your host, Chris Haney, and joining me today is Galen Burke. How you doing, Galen?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Chris?
Awesome. I'm doing great. You know, I'm really excited about this episode. Today, we're going to be talking about small business lending, and you are my resident expert in small business. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. Galen Burke. I'm in commercial services. So that's really, it kind of encompasses lending, deposits, really the whole picture of what like small businesses need.
Okay. And as far as what you do in the lending world, what expertise do you bring?
Sure. I think I've had the luxury of kind of growing up in all facets in the credit union. So I can bring small business expertise to the table. I can bring larger real estate loans to the table. Even some not some, but business development stuff. So I like to try to always be on top of what can we do differently? How can we make new friends? How can we bring in new business? How can I mentor people to do the same thing and just kind of level set and grow it at my organization I work at. So.
Okay, so I'm hearing you that you didn't start in commercial lending. You started elsewhere.
Yeah.
So tell me about that journey. How you started in the financial industry and how you got to today.
Yeah. Interesting story. I don't know how interesting. But started out in retail restaurant, quick service job.
Okay.
Working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day.
Ouch.
As a manager, but it's working manager stuff, right?
Sure.
And one day I just got kind of sick of that grind, and I knew somebody in banking and asked them if they were hiring. I started as a teller. And then I grew from the teller world into like new accounts and then over to operations and then started dabbling into lending. From there, went into kind of management, I guess. Got a chance to really kind of show how I can lead a team, cut my teeth in a branch environment. From there, went on to being kind of over multiple branches, and then kind of showed interest in this. I've always kind of showed interest and always kind of liked this business world and commercial lending world. And like 2018, we started talking about creating a commercial services department. And from there, did a bunch of training, a bunch of reading, a bunch of learning, launched a department in the midst of COVID, of all things.
Wow.
Yeah,
That must have been a challenge.
That was a challenge. Yeah. Because we weren't ready to launch. We were still kind of like on a roadmap to get somewhere. And then COVID happened, and then all of a sudden, all of our small business members were like, "Oh, you can give me this Paycheck Protection Program loan, right? This PPP loan." I'm like, "We're working on it." And so we missed that first round of funding because it like went like this. Well, we had
sure did.
We had
I
to become
remember
like
that.
these delegated kind of authority to give those out, and we missed it because to no fault of our own. It was just paperwork stuff, right?
Yeah.
But we were ready for the second wind, and kind of those weren't really loans per se. They were more like grants that we were giving out for the Treasury Department. But it gave us good experience culturally on how to talk to small businesses and how to discover their needs and help them through hard times too.
I think COVID really did a number on all different aspects of the financial industry, from commercial lending to just normal banking. You know, it changed the dynamic of how people interact and kind of the strategies, I guess, financial institutions take when they interact with customers. So, we all have that one really memorable success story that kind of keeps us coming to work every single day. Give us that for you.
Yeah, I love it. I can think of a small business in our community that they've been doing what they do for 20 years, and always kind of paying rent with what they're doing. And they had like a good following in the community. People knew who they were. If you needed their help, that kind of help, immediately you thought of their name. And they came to us and they're like, "Look, like we've been paying rent. We're ready for the next step." And we were able to get them through a few challenges. We were able to get them their own real estate for their business. Stop paying rent and start putting some more equity into their own business. And it also gave them a fresh, clean look too, right? And so to attract new people that haven't heard. We're in a growing area, and so what could be this tribal knowledge and this kind of cult following of personality of local people. You kind of lose that as the area grows sometimes. And so got them a new fresh space that people could see them and drive by and create even more business for them. So it went really, really smooth, but we overcame some challenges that come with small business. Okay. Whereas when I talk about like small challenges that come with businesses, talking about things like, maybe bookkeeping isn't always so straightforward, or maybe historical financials aren't the best. And so sometimes with this one, we were okay, but sometimes we have to tell people we got to wait. Here, it's not no, never. Here's what you can do later. So that's just one of the stories. I wouldn't say that was like a huge, like just, oh my gosh, win, but at the same time, that makes me feel really good. And I love doing that. They're local people who have this vision, who work hard, who are doing the right things, and we can help them take the next step.
So you're saying that moments like that is kind of what you strive for as a business lender, as a mark of success, or as something that keeps you coming back to the office day in and day out.
Of course. Because it's really great to do like a large $6-8 million loan, which that may not be large for some institutions. For us, that's a large loan. And a lot of times those aren't necessarily owned maybe by local people, right? Or it may not be like an owner-occupied business to where you're kind of creating jobs in the community. Well, small business that's organic, local, like the one I was talking about, you create jobs. You create, you add to the culture in the community. There's all these repercussions that kind of go with it.
Okay. And so, you've been in the financial industry for a long time, over 10 years, 15?
Altogether, almost 20.
Almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. And you've come up through, consumer lending, through just normal front office work, and now into small business lending. And so it seems like you've been around the block. You've seen a lot. You've interacted with not only, members and customers, but also entrepreneurs and business owners. So you've kind of seen the gambit of it all.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that commercial lending is not just numbers on a screen and some stuffy banker behind a computer, being a miser about their money. I almost think like Scrooge McDuck, right? Sometimes us younger generations will look at the financial industry and commercial lending or business lending may be that one avenue or piece that they don't even think about. They may think about it, but with social media, you may get some myths or you may get some bad information. Can you talk a little bit about some of the information you see on social media and those folks that are like, hey, do these things? Do you think that those folk have good sound advice, or is it, something that you would suggest, hey, let's use some more structured, some more professional advice and not really, the shorts are okay, but be careful.
Yeah. So social media has its good stuff and it's bad stuff, right? And I think with any situation, you just got to be leery. It's got to pass the test, right? But something that seems too good to be true is going to be too good to be true at the end of the day. Nobody gets anything. There's lucky people, right? But you're not just going to come to the table with, I got this business idea, and tomorrow you're just making all kinds of revenue and you've made it, right? It takes work. You get out of it what you put into it, like anything in life. So yeah, there's a lot of myths out there, or people trying to make, trying to get quick likes, quick followers because they're saying catchy things, or they portray this lifestyle that everybody wants to have, right? And that's just not realistic. So, the best thing you can do is put your time into it. It's like going to school to get a degree, right? Like you got to go to school to build your business, whether it's School of Hard Knocks or School of the Books.
Sure.
You got to put your time in. And that means having a sound business plan. It also means having the resume to do what you got to do. That kind of leads to some other stuff. I don't know if we're going to talk about it yet, but startup business stuff, right? So startup business stuff that is not, I woke up in the middle of the night last night and I had this great idea for a business. Now I'm going to go get a loan. That is something where, you got to have some time in the industry you're trying to create this business in, or something similar. And so it's where you're building that wisdom, because it's not all just book smarts. You got to have the wisdom of what you're doing, and you got to understand how the financials work, and you got to understand who the correct centers of influence are. You got to interact with for that business, and you got to have a skill or a service type thing or something you make, and you got to be an expert at it. So it takes time. So, like our perfect example is somebody who's been in the industry for 10 years, 15 years, maybe working for somebody else or maybe doing some contract stuff or some side stuff, but they've built this resume and this know-how, and they've saved money because you got to have skin in the game too. That's the other thing is, like I'll use like the Small Business Administration, SBA loans. It's not a grant. And it's not a no skin in the game loan. This is something that you have to already have this sound plan. You got to have money saved up. You got to be ready for the what ifs and the failures that come along the way, or the mishaps that come along the way, to be able to fund stuff while you're trying to grow. And you're in that launch phase. You burn through money in launch phase like crazy. You're still making money, but you're also spending a bunch of money, and that's where we see people fail.
I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get into some of that a little bit later in a section later. But before I ask you kind of to debunk some common myths about business lenders, why don't you actually tell us what you do and what part you play in that business relationship?
Sure. We have a small team that I work on. So wear many hats. Sometimes I'm the person who meets the person up front, and I interview them and get that relationship going. I find out what are their needs, how do I match them with what we can do, and building that trust. Sometimes I come in after somebody's already done that work and made the friend and brought them to the table, and now we're kind of talking through more intricate plans of how we're going to help them out. And sometimes I'm there just to kind of steer the ship and make sure that, I know I have the right people in the right place. That's something. I've got an excellent team that they can do what they were hired to do. But it's also making sure that they're growing. So it's making sure that, okay, are we doing the right thing, not only for them, but for our borrowers too? At the end of the day, are we giving them the best thing we can give them? And sometimes that does mean a quick no. Hey, we're not the right lender for you, and here's why. Maybe it's something that maybe we just don't have the scale for yet, or maybe it's something to where what they're asking for, we may be a little conservative, and we're just like, we can't do that. I try to keep friends in the community that, like, I know a person though who could probably help you out this time, and maybe we can help you out the next time. But a quick no like that is just as valuable as a very smooth process that ends up in a yes.
So you're having these upfront and candid conversations with business owners about their business and sometimes even about their financials. So you act as a true, almost financial partner to business owners when they're engaging with you as their lender of choice.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some of those myths because, I can envision a lot of our younger generation and folks who aspire to be something more, aspire to have their own hours, have their own business. Maybe they are they make a craft or some type of project, and they just need some capital to fund their next inventory, and they start thinking about, well, where am I going to get the money from? And so they go online and they think, oh, well, there's some myths about lenders. One I told you before, we're all stuffy people. But we're kind of not. But one of the ones is going to be, as a business owner, I should only lend from big banks. True or false?
Oh, yeah, that's false.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, do you want to be the small minnow and the big lake, or do you want big fish in a small pond, right? Do you want that attention? Do you want that relationship? Do you want to be able to pick up the phone and call your banker and get the one who actually helped you get the loan in the first place, right?
So you want to be that person that has a relationship with your banker. You just don't want to be that high volume. There's smaller financial institutions can give you a little bit more personalized service, if you will. Okay. So another myth is to get a small business loan or to get a business loan, you need to have perfect credit.
We prefer perfect credit.
Well, lenders always prefer perfect credit, but you have to have
Yeah.
that perfect credit score to get that business loan.
So when you're kind of relating it to maybe more consumer lending, sometimes you do need very clean credit. Okay, it may not be perfect, but it's got to be clean. Our appetite for risk on the commercial and small business side, it's a lot smaller. So it's something where, yeah, I think it's a responsibility of a small business owner. Yeah, you should be taking care of yourself personally, your credit, financially, mentally, health wise, whatever, because that's going to directly relate into your business too. Like how you handle your homes, how are you going to handle your business?
Okay.
So that's something that you need good credit.
Okay. Another myth is when looking at business loans, the only thing that matters is interest rate.
Yeah, so that's a myth. What matters for you as the business person? Like, what are you looking for? Are you trying to just get the cheapest loan? Sure, of course, rate's going to be great, but maybe there's some programs out there where maybe you can put in less equity. It's going to have a high rate. There's a little more risk to it, but you put in less money up front, enough to where we're like, okay, that's good skin in the game, but it's less out of pocket for you, or maybe something to you is like the term of the loan, like how long it's going to be paid on. Maybe you just want to be happy to know that, hey, I don't have to worry about like any kind of renewals or maturity for like 10 years or 5 years. Maybe the best rate comes with like a 2 or 3 year loan that, okay, in 2 or 3 years, I got to come back to my banker and I've got to re-up this thing. Well, that could cause some unwanted stress and worries and stuff like that. So I think it just depends on what do you want, and that comes from the lender really creating that relationship, interviewing right, and finding out like what you as a small business owner want. So it's not just rate, yeah. And again, too, do you want that relationship? Do you want to be a number? Do you just need money quick, right? Like, so there's lots of different things.
So interest rate is not the only thing to consider.
No, it's one of the things. It's great. But,
all right. Should I only go to a financial institution that only deals with small business or business lending?
That's not necessary. And I would think that, a lot of times you want to kind of not have to go all over the place too. So why not go somewhere you can also have your consumer needs met as well? That's something that it's not necessary. Yeah, there's some out there that only do that.
Okay. Last one I got for you is applying for a loan is a lengthy process.
That all depends on how prepared you are as a small business owner. Right?
Okay.
You give me everything I need up front, we can start crunching numbers and start coming up with a plan and an answer for you pretty quick.
Okay.
How prepared are you? And it goes back to how you handle your business again.
Okay. And I think I would be a little remiss if I didn't ask this because you mentioned a couple things in our conversation, and I want to go back to them. Small business lending isn't about a entrepreneur coming to a financial institution and saying, hey, I need a $10,000 loan for an inventory run. It can be something as simple as that, but is there other ways to get business lending or get business credit? What does that look like?
Sure. Yeah, it can be really anything. So as far as different ways to get business funding, it could start out with getting an auto loan for your business, right? Because that's easier to get than say like an unsecured loan for inventory.
Sure.
Because we're going to want collateral to put a lien on. We don't necessarily want to put a lien on like inventory that what are we going to do if we actually had to take it one day?
Okay.
Right? But like an auto loan, like we're kind of looking at that as like a consumer loan almost. So that's easy to get, easy to establish business credit with us. So then the next time you come in, we're like, oh, they pay us as agreed. Looks like they have the right numbers in place. Let's go a little bigger next time, right? Like next time you come in with a need and it's a little bigger, we can probably do it.
Okay. And is it only just about large lump sum loans?
No. We've got, so yeah, for like working capital, small working capital. So we have a credit card that's very reasonable for many needs of a small business owner with kind of like the limits that we have. There's kind of like lines of credit we can do. We can secure like a large piece of real estate with a line of credit. Some people use those for, and then you're not paying interest on the money you don't take, right? So a lot of people use those for investments. Like when they see, they already own this piece of land, but they want to put a line of credit against it. So when they see a property or a deal come up that they don't have time to go get a new loan application. They got to put a bid in or something like that. They can just say, okay, hey, I need X amount of money for my line. I'm buying this property.
So I think what you're talking about is at sometimes your borrowers will need to put up some type of collateral or some type of I guess the right word is collateral for us to be able to fund or for you to be able to fund that loan. What exactly is collateral and what are you looking for in collateral?
Yeah, it's an asset that's easily marketable, right? So that's real estate. Well, cash is king, but real estate is probably second to that then, right? Because we can put some controls in place. We're going to get an appraisal done. We're gonna go put our boots on the ground and walk the building.
Okay.
We're going to make sure there's no deferred maintenance. So we're gonna use something for collateral that is up to our standards, right? And the reason behind that is that with businesses, it's in like worst case scenarios, people don't sometimes look at their business like it's their own personal obligation, even though we get personal guarantees on everything we do.
Sure.
And once in a while, you got to take collateral back. It's got to be something that we can sell, something we can liquidate, something we can. So we're gonna require collateral on most things. Like really, the only unsecured type thing we do is a credit card.
Okay. And so that's a common thing with business lending is, hey, if you're going to look for a business loan, you need to make sure you may have some collateral to put up so we can secure that loan for you.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So before we kind of get into the maybe finer structures of what documents you need, kind of what historical data, what financials you're going to need to help this partnership bud and grow, we're going to take a quick break. Okay. But when we do, when we come back, I really want to get into some of those finer details. Sure. So. All right, so there you have it, folks. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Worth a Listen. We're going to take a break, but I hope this was worth your time.